Hey guys, my name is Matsumo, and today I'm excited to say that Ubisoft has finally revealed all the major changes and patch notes that are going to be coming to Rainbow Six Siege on September 5th, and it's looking fantastic. I know a lot of people have been critiquing Operation Health for being a bit lackluster. Well, this looks like this is the patch that we've all been waiting for. And so to start things off, we're getting new servers. Now, for a while there, I was a bit worried that they weren't going to be able to deliver this at the beginning of Season 3 because they kept making subtle hints that things were going to be delayed. Thankfully, that's not going to happen. And so with these new servers, we should just see a quality of life improvement across the board in gameplay. Hit registration should be more on point. Hit notification when you're getting shot at should be improved. The netcode in general just should feel a lot smoother because they're going from 50 hertz to 60 hertz, and overall this should just be a nice improvement. And so thankfully it's going to be at the beginning of Season 3. Now, one change I was not expecting is they're making large adjustments to the way that smoke grenades work. So you guys know smoke grenades can be fairly inconsistent right now. You can throw this into a room, it looks like it's completely blocking the line of sight of the enemy, all things look clear, you charge on in, and the enemy somehow tracks you through the smoke and takes you down. That should no longer happen anymore. What they've done is something very similar to the way that Counter-Strike works, where basically it is going to be a solid block of smoke, and also it is going to be the same smoke that everyone sees for each client. So if you guys aren't aware, the current smoke system, your smoke grenade effect is actually different than what the enemy sees. And so those moments where you think it's clear, they're actually seeing something different, and that's why they were able to get the headshot against you. That is also no longer going to happen. And so I'm really excited to get my hands on this new and improved smoke grenade. I don't think it's going to revolutionize the way that we play Rainbow Six Siege, but it should hopefully just be way more reliable and allow for more consistent tactics, which is exactly what the smoke grenade should be all about. Now, one adjustment that I know is going to rustle some feathers is that it has been 100% confirmed that 2 and 3 speed operators on defense are no longer going to have access to the ACOG scope, and so basically this means that Jaeger and Bandit no longer have access to that customization option. Ubisoft's reason for doing this is that they stated that Jaeger and Bandit, because of their 3 speed with the ACOG scope, it was just too powerful because they could relocate so quickly and then take you down from long range. Now, I know this is going to be a disappointment for anyone that likes to play as these 2 operators, and I don't blame them, but I don't think it's going to be as bad as a lot of people are making it out to be. A lot of people were saying the same thing about Smoke's SMG-11. They were saying that as soon as you take away the ACOG scope on that he was going to be nerfed into oblivion. He is still one of the most reliable and best operators that you can have on defense. And so I'm sure there is going to be a bit of a transition here. People are going to have to take some time to get comfortable with these changes. All in all, I still think that Jaeger and Bandit are going to be really good operators to have on defense, but they're not going to have that long range precision that they do right now. This update also features some game balance changes, and one of the biggest ones is that Barbed Wire is now going to be easier to walk through, and it's going to require 1 less melee hit to take down. So right now, and they even mentioned this in the patch notes, Barbed Wire is pretty much a must pick on defense. Most teams, if you want to be successful, requires 4, 6, or even 8 of these things to slow down the enemy's movement, and when you encounter 8 Barbed Wire on offense, it can be a nightmare to get anywhere near that objective, and Ubisoft is realizing that this is a bit of a problem. And so what they're doing is that now, instead of a 50% reduction in your speed, you're still not going to be able to sprint through it, you're going to only be able to walk, they're going down to 45%. Not a significant difference. But the big change is that it now only requires 2 melee hits to drop. Right now, really the only reliable way at taking out this gadget is to use a grenade or a breaching charge. If you go for a melee against it, usually the enemy has put them in a location that's going to leave you exposed, and so as soon as you start to go through that animation, the enemy rounds the corner and takes you down no problem. So hopefully now it's going to be a bit more manageable. And while I don't think this is going to make Barbed Wire useless, actually on the contrary, I think it's still going to be one of the best gadgets you can have on defense, but it is going to be a bit more reasonable to take care of this when you are on the offensive side. Jackal is also seeing some adjustments, and his gadget will hopefully now be a bit more consistent. So instead of pinging the enemy's location every 10 seconds, it's now going to ping their location every 5 seconds. It isn't going to last as long, it's going from 30 seconds down to 20 seconds, but it's going to ping them more consistently and more frequently. And so essentially what Ubisoft is trying to accomplish here is that he will hopefully be more reliable at tracking down enemy roamers. One of the biggest issues with Jackal right now is that 10-second interval interval, while it's great to have that information, it's not very reliable to actually know where they're going to end up. 10 seconds is a long time, especially for a 3-speed operator, to move around the map. And so by reducing it down to a 5-second interval, hopefully this will just make it a lot easier for you to track them down and be the hunter that he's supposed to be. He's meant to track down these roamers and take them down, and I think this is going to be a great step in the right direction. Bandit is also seeing a big improvement where his battery charges are now going to destroy drones or gadgets in one hit. So if you jump into barbed wire that's electrified, you're not surviving anymore. That's going to be a big buff. But he's also now going to be able to directly counter Hibana. So right now, if an Hibana activates her charges against a wall and Bandit electrifies it, because they're active, they don't get destroyed. Ironically, this was actually intended to stop the bandit trick, so it was easier for offense to get through these reinforced walls and hopefully secure the objective. It seems like Ubisoft is going back on that policy. Honestly, this is a big buff to Bandit, and it's going to make it significantly harder to deal with certain strategies. Bandit with the Mira is going to be a nightmare to deal with in some situations. All you got to do as Bandit is look through the mirror hole, and then as soon as you see those things fly through the air, place it down, and it's going to destroy those gadgets 100% of the time. And while of course you could use a Twitch to counter this strategy, what happens if you don't have a Twitch or all of your drones die? You're basically out of luck at that point. And so for all the Bandit mains out there, yeah, you're no longer gonna have access to the ACOG scope, but I really truly do believe that you got a significant buff when you are fighting against an enemy Hibana. Now, a couple other changes I was not expecting Ubisoft to make is that they're also going to be removing a few UI components in certain situations. And so first of all, if you're staring at an enemy with your crosshair is no longer going to turn red. I cannot tell you how many times I've been scanning into a room, all of a sudden my crosshair turns red out of nowhere, especially if I'm looking through like a murder hole, for example. I freak out really quickly, aim down sight, and shoot them in the face. Thankfully, the enemy wasn't staring at me, but the only reason I knew that that knob was a player's head was because of that red indicator, and so now they're removing that. And while sure it's great when it works in your favor, honestly, this is a good change. In a game like Rainbow Six Siege that is all about gathering information, really the reason why you should know that an enemy is looking at you is because you noticed that they were looking at you. If they've got a nice hiding spot, if they're in a sneaky location, I don't think this red indicator should give you that advantage, and so I think this is going to be a nice adjustment. One thing I don't know if people are going to be thrilled about is that they're removing the hazy effect or the color filter when you run outside on defense. You will still have the red text that lets you know that the enemy knows where you're located. That's still going to be there, but it's not going to have that filter whatsoever. Now, is this going to really have a dramatic impact on the game? Probably not, but it might make it a bit easier for you to actually see your targets in some situations. I know that filter can be a bit obstructive sometimes. It can be hard to acquire targets, and while I don't think this is really that big of a buff for people that run outside, I know that some people could actually make that argument. Now, one change I'm not really sold on, though, is that the only way that you're going to be able to identify the enemy's operators, so if you want your team to know, hey, they've got a Valkyrie, the only way you're going to be able to do that is to scan them with your drone. Even if you're looking directly at them with your operator or even with your drone itself, you stare at them for 10 seconds, it's not going to make that identification. Now, you could, of course, call out to your teammates, hey, they got a Valkyrie, they've got a pulse, watch out for it. But now the only way that you're going to be able to actually get that information at the top of your screen is to scan them with those gadgets. I don't really like that. And while I do understand where they're coming from, just like the red crosshair, they don't want to give you information that you didn't earn. If you're looking down a hallway, all of a sudden you notice that you identified an enemy because it just gave you 10 points, you're going to look for the enemy that you just identified and you might get a kill because of that information. That is what they want to avoid. But for me, for someone who loves to play as Valkyrie and get my drones in sneaky locations, this just sounds like an excuse for people just to continuously scan with those gadgets. Yes, it does give our team more information because now we know for sure what the enemy is running, but I would rather those gadgets, and especially my Valkyrie cameras, to stay stealthy and not alert it to the enemy's presence. Now, one change that I know many people have been waiting for is that they're finally fixing the lighting. So they give us a before and after. The left-hand side is what we're all accustomed to. It looks like we're staring into the sun. There's that crazy bloom effect, and their reasoning for doing this is that they wanted to put the defender who was looking outside, going for a peek on the enemy, was going to be at a bit of a disadvantage. It was going to be kind of challenging to acquire your target and and take them down. Well, apparently, they're no longer going to have that policy because on the right-hand side, that bloom is non-existent and it just looks like you're looking into another room. This is also true when you're looking outside in, but on the complete opposite end of the spectrum. On the left-hand side, it's very dark, difficult to see what's going on, and on the right-hand side, it's clear as day. And so while we might see a couple of adjustments gameplay-wise, a few people might start to peek a bit more because it is easier just to see what's going on outside of buildings, I think overall this is going to be a good thing for Siege. Having those moments where you're trying to approach the objective from the outside and looking in and just seeing nothing, you just see darkness, and then you get shot out of nowhere, that's frustrating. And so hopefully this will put everyone on a level playing field. We won't have any advantages or disadvantages. We'll all just be playing the game as it should, and it will just make for a much more enjoyable experience. Another thing I'm really excited about is that it looks like they're going to be rewarding players who have a stable connection and a good ping. Now, it's a bit difficult to tell exactly what they're going to be doing based off the description, but from what I've gathered, it sounds like if you have a stable connection and a good ping, you're going to have a better time winning firefights against someone who doesn't have a stable connection. And honestly, that's exactly how it should be. And while I don't know if this is going to extend on over to high ping players, but I'm really crossing my fingers that it does. If you have a ping of 250, I don't think you should have an advantage against someone who has a ping of 60 and is playing in their region. And while once again, it's a bit difficult to tell exactly what Ubisoft is doing here based off the description, I'm holding on to hope what they're going for is that if you have a stable connection and a good ping, you're going to have the best experience in Rainbow Six Siege. Yeah guys, those are all the major changes that I wanted to address in today's video, but those are by no means all of the changes that are happening in this upcoming patch. If you'd like to read all of the patch notes, I'll leave them down below in the description. There is an insane amount of bug fixes, small tweaks here and there, and so if you'd like to take the time to read it, I highly recommend that you do. They're going in and making weapon fall-off damage more consistent. They're giving a bunch of the weapons like the SMG-11 more magazines, so you're going to be able to use the SMG a lot more frequently. Like, there is a lot going on in this patch. It'd probably take me like 30 minutes to go through each and every single one of the details, and so if you'd like to learn more, check that link down below in the description. But yeah guys, that has been it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed. I'm really excited about this patch. I hope that you guys are. I think this is the one that we've all been waiting for. I'm really crossing my fingers that Ubisoft is going to be able to deliver and it's going to be a smooth patch update. But yeah, until tomorrow, have a good one and take it easy.